In the winter of 2009, my friend, cousin, and I went into rural upstate New York looking to record video and audio evidence of a Bigfoot. From an early age, we had been captivated by the idea of a Bigfoot species and made it a goal to investigate at our earliest opportunity. As strange a notion as this may seem, I encourage you to stay with me, both to hear our enlightening experience and to get a broader picture of this iconic legend. Our unforgettable trip into the wilderness gave us a new perspective on this mystery and others like it. It led me to write an article about the experience, which was published in Skeptic Magazine, Volume 18, Number 4, in 2013. The internet had given us a far more elaborate structure to this mystery than one might think. That Bigfoots are a species of higher-order primate, evolved to avoid humans, possibly from known extinct animals like Gigantopithecus blacki, a giant Asian ape that scientists believe went extinct roughly 100,000 years ago. And that today, small nomadic populations of these animals remain in the remote forested and mountainous areas of the United States and Canada. This seemed like a far more sophisticated and convincing theory as opposed to the more widespread cultural belief that Bigfoot was one single creature that had been running around the woods for the past century, similar, say, to the Jersey Devil. We believed, based on reported sightings and vocalizations, that a pocket of these animals was present in the Lake George area of the Adirondacks. Our plan on this night was to call blast, imitate the purported vocalizations these creatures make while communicating over long distances. Bigfoot researchers believe that imitating these calls can elicit responses from individuals in a given area. High-pitched whoops, what we used, long siren-like screams, and loud wood-knocking. We drove along Route 9 north, following Lake George for several miles before the road took us well away from the developed area and around the Tongue mountain range. Our destination that night was at the furthest point away from the lake, at the intersection of a 4x4 dirt track called Padanarum Road. We pulled into this location at about 8:45 p.m. Except for the mist of stars above us, we waited in utter darkness and complete silence for 16 minutes before my cousin, Ryan, made the first calls. Here is our recording from that night.
Call blasting 9:01 p.m.
The response came from an area to our left and to the west, somewhere we suspect in this area. This type of vocalization was the exact thing we had heard in online recordings attributed to Bigfoot. When primed with the idea that this could be a large hominid, the vocalization can sound very much like a primate. Here it is again. At this point, we were getting pretty uneasy. I don't think that in our wildest dreams we expected to get a response at all, let alone in the first 12 seconds. A new reality was settling in for us, one that is easy to dismiss, but one I urge you to consider. If this was a Bigfoot, and as eager enthusiasts at the time we believed it probably was, that meant an immense, 8-foot-tall, hairy ape was a few hundred yards up the hill, probably staring at us from somewhere in the darkness. Whatever made that sound, in that moment to us, was the real thing. Having stopped in the middle of nowhere, not having seen any other cars for some time, not knowing the temperament of these animals or their territory, etc., our hearts began racing with fear.
What do you want to do? Ready. One. Okay, we're going to do another one.
8 seconds after our second call blast, we heard the crack. This time from our right, several hundred feet northeast. Somewhere in here. Here it is again. Unfortunately, as you can see, our terror got the better of us and we turned on our vehicle. There was no sound of a tree falling over, crashing to the ground, no sound of a branch breaking and then falling to the forest floor. All we heard was the crack of wood on wood, as if someone took a baseball bat to a tree with one violent swing. Immediately we attributed this with a well-documented Bigfoot behavior, wood knocking. A behavior attributed to both long-distance communication and, we also knew, territorial displays.
I'm scared and I'm shocked.
What happened the second time?
A big bang, crack.
A bang on a tree.
Is that thing recording?
Yeah.
Now, we knew there were at least 2 of these creatures, maybe more, in the area. Had we somehow entered their territory at the wrong time? Or come between 2 individuals, possibly an adult and juvenile? I'm shaking, dude.
I'm shaking.
Make another noise.
Not with the car running. There's no way it'll... Oh, we can try.
Okay, hold on.
We heard no other vocalizations that night. After these events, we were pretty confident that we had been in communication with a Bigfoot. We had heard Bigfoot recordings online that matched what we heard and experienced a well-documented wood-knocking behavior. The next morning, we traveled back to the area to find what we knew had to be there. Footprints in the snow from where these animals had been the night before. From at or above the area, we heard the first vocalization. But for as long as we searched, we found none. This puzzled us, and doubts, slowly, made their way into the conversation. We set out, as fans of good science, to disprove our theory, and to get to the bottom of our recording. Before we went around telling people that what we had recorded was a Bigfoot, we wanted to be sure, beyond any doubt, that there was no natural explanation. We knew it would have been far too easy to sit back and simply believe our encounter was something unexplainable. We had the courage to challenge our beliefs. No natural explanation came. Initially, we scoured the internet for vocalizations of birds, cats, coyotes, foxes, deer, fisher cats, everything. We contacted wildlife experts and biologists to help us identify the strange sounds. Several weeks later, we discovered what had been with us that night. Confirmed by a local wildlife biologist, we had been in communication not with a Bigfoot, but a barred owl. As it turns out, owls are capable of a surprisingly dynamic range of vocal abilities. What we heard was a rare whistle-screech vocalization from a female barred owl. This also explained why we did not find any footprints in the snow the following day. The crack remained a mystery until we discovered, to our utter surprise, that barred owls, when threatened, had been known to make noisy distractions or displays, what's called wing quivering, and making as much noise as possible by flying into dead branches. We believe this also explains the crack we heard that night. Our experience, scaring ourselves half to death in the middle of Adirondack wilderness over the presence of an owl, forced us to dig deep and ask some important questions. Why did we believe that this species existed? Had we done a good enough job evaluating the evidence? What kind of websites were we getting our information from? Were they reliable? How many other people had mistaken owl sounds, or other rare animal sounds, for something more mysterious? What were the odds that events like this, suspiciously similar to those attributed to Bigfoot, were not responsible for a significant number of reported Bigfoot encounters? How badly did we want to believe that a Bigfoot species existed? I'll conclude with the final thoughts from my Skeptic magazine article. Science delivered us from the belief in a Bigfoot species, and others like it. And while it explained away our encounters with Bigfoot, it gave us something far more precious, something real. and the beauty of a rare night display of barred owl vocalizations deep in the Adirondack wilderness. Science gave us the chance to grow and to understand that it is the best system ever devised to explain the beautiful, rare, and dynamic world we live in.